Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, Cleaning Up the Mental Mess. And today we are going to talk about something that is so helpful and so useful and something I use all the time, and that is cultivating calm when feeling triggered. Okay, we all know what feeling triggered's like, and how do we cultivate calm when we're in that moment, and why should we do that? Well, let's dive in and find out why. Okay, so think back to a time when you've been triggered. I'm sure you can think of multiple times. I can think of today at least 3. And so being triggered is common, okay? And you wanted to react. You just wanted to like snap back, get irritated, or you felt that irritation rising up and you say something, or you send off that text, or you send off that email, or you get that look on your face that just closes, whatever it is, whatever the reaction is. And what would you have given to have a helping hand in that moment to get you to that crisis? Because it literally, that triggering creates a crisis in you and the relationship and the other person and persons or whatever. It creates a negative toxic energy and crisis moment. And it can often spiral into worse arguments, worse feelings about oneself, all kinds of negative stuff. Well, you can be the one who can actually learn to react and not respond. You can learn to cultivate calm when feeling triggered. You can learn how to respond and not react. So I'm going to give you 3 tips for how to do this, and we're going to practice them. Tip number 1 is when you get triggered, and it could be a person, it could be an email, it could be a text, it could be something that is going on in your life, like something in your business or your private life. Maybe you are purchasing something, or maybe you are dealing with some new concept in your business, or maybe you're about to, you're deciding between something. So there's something physically happening or emotionally happening, okay? And it doesn't work out like you expect. You get to the shop and the thing's not there, or you get stuck in traffic, or you miss that appointment, or this person, you get so excited and you share something in the meeting and that person just shuts you off, or you looking forward to seeing someone, you get there and they're very cold, or you are excited about a new purchase and it just didn't work out. It was a disaster or something like that. So when that happens, when you're triggered and you're feeling reactive and you're feeling like you want to say, this always happens to me, or I hate this, or I'm so mad, or how could they do that? Or you snap back, or you send the text, email, etc. Like I've said, try this. Try saying this phrase. Isn't this interesting? I heard my friend once talking about this, and she gave this long, elaborate thing, and I listened, and I thought, I don't know how that's going to help me. And then I was triggered and I tried it. And I've tried it so many times since then. And that is why I'm making this a tip. It is so powerful. When you are triggered and you're about to react, just calm down. Take out the word calm down just for a moment. Instead of shooting off the mouth, the hands, the mindset, just say, isn't this interesting? And just pause. Pause for about 60 to 90 seconds. You could say it in your mind. You could say it out loud. So, isn't this interesting? And then just think about it. Just let whatever thoughts are coming up, just let them, and at first probably turmoil and all the things you're going to say, and just keep saying to yourself, isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? Notice the tone of my voice. Notice that it's calm. And 60 seconds may feel like a long time, but it goes really fast. So 60 to 90 seconds, if you can train yourself to do that, you can practice it, okay? Isn't that interesting? And if you don't want to say it out loud and someone's triggering you and you can only manage 20 seconds before you've got to talk next, that's fine. I'm giving you the ideal. Say it out loud for 60 and repeat it to yourself for 60 to 90 seconds, and just see what thoughts and how you come up and how your body changes. But if you've got to react, only have 10 or 20 seconds and the next thing's coming at you, you can just in your mind say, isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? Notice how my face is taken on a neutral stance, and just keep breathing. Isn't this interesting? And whatever they throw at you, it calms you down. So in that state, as you're in that 60 to 90 seconds while you're saying this, even if a person's still talking to you, or if they're not talking to you, or if it's an email, or whatever the situation is, or it's some purchase that you didn't manage to conclude, or something didn't work out correctly, you want to get mad, in taking that time, what thoughts come up in your head? And then take a little bit of time in that 60 to 90 seconds to be aware of those thoughts. So, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Maybe in your head you're not saying it. And then maybe things come up like, maybe I can learn more from this person. Maybe they're saying this because there's something going on in their life. I can see this is hard, what I've got to go through. This is going to really throw me out, but maybe I could learn something from this. You say that to yourself. Or, I wonder what this is, this situation. This situation is interesting, even though it's disappointing. I wonder what the outcome could be. So it's those kinds of phrases, whatever comes up, it's a shift to being curious as opposed to just reacting. And that curiosity that is this interesting calms down your psychoneurobiology, and it helps you to have more clarity so that you can control that desire to just fire off. Then tip number 2, which you can follow immediately after tip number 1. So is that interesting? Follow with this next tip. And that is practice immediate gratitude. Now, we all know gratitude's a great thing and an important thing. And we all know, you've heard, everyone talks about gratitude journals and everything. So that's what we want you to talk to. I want you to really focus on that. But I'm talking about a little thing that you can do, and that's immediate gratitude. Because sometimes we can't think of the big things, but what can I immediately, in this moment, as I've just been triggered and I've said, isn't this interesting? What can I be grateful for? Maybe it's, I'm grateful that I can breathe. I'm grateful that I'm standing on 2 legs. I'm grateful that this person's alive and I'm able to even talk to them. I'm grateful for the birds flying behind me. I'm grateful for the beautiful view that I'm looking at. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn something new. I'm grateful that I can smile. I'm grateful that I have people that love me in my life. I'm grateful for how they find something, immediate gratitude. As you go into immediate gratitude, after the curiosity statement of, isn't this interesting? You activate a lot of the theta wave, theta, theta wave, which is a frequency that goes through your brain and your body that we call the healing energy. It's an energy wave, like the waves of the sea behind me. It's an energy wave that is very calming. And when it flows through your brain and your body, it tends to influence the release of hormones in your brain and body that will make you feel calmer. It also activates, when you're in gratitude, it also activates the gamma frequency wave, that energy wave, which is like little ripples on the beach. The theta wave is like the big waves far out to the ocean. The gamma wave is the little ripples on the beach. And the gamma wave is very much involved when we're learning new things. So when we direct our neuroplasticity, when we learning new information, when we're rewiring our mind-brain-body network, there's a lot of gamma activity. So like listening to this podcast now, where you're learning something, you'd have a lot of gamma activity. Now, we want gamma activity when we're in a reactive state and triggered, because we want to be able to learn a new response. We want to be able to tap into our wisdom and the calming down through the isn't it interesting statement. And this practicing immediate gratitude helps us to actually calm down enough that we can actually then find that certain level of wisdom to put into our response, so that we shift from being triggered and reacting into responding. Okay, so and when we are in a state of gratitude, the theta wave and the gamma wave, that combination increases in both of those to the right level, will help you access and find the wisdom that's inside of you and build that into a response. So it's the right energy to help you find and build and speak out or write the correct response. And then the third one is called a trigger sip. And a trigger sip is a sip of air. So it's a funny little statement, but it is literally as the person says something to you and you say, isn't this interesting? And you find something that you're immediately grateful for. You can also add on the third thing, or you could do this first. You can do this in any order. You may want to start with this one, but a trigger sip is a way of breathing that helps to calm down your neurophysiology and helps your body to not feel like you want to just explode. Because when you're triggered, it hits you, the energy from that person's, whatever they're saying or the experience that you're going through is processed through your mind and hits your brain, your body fast, like, this paintball gun. It's like it's hitting you, all the photons and the electromagnetic energy is hitting you fast. So it activates your biological responses and we can start panting so we don't breathe deeply. So a trigger sip is a way of getting more oxygen into the brain quickly. And oxygen is information. Molecules of oxygen are information. And the state that you take the state that you're in is carried in also in the oxygen molecules. So if you're angry and you want to react and you don't control it, you're breathing in extra molecules, and those molecules are carrying your anger or frustration or irritation or depression or self-hate, whatever that reaction is to what triggered you, that's kind of been breathed all over you. So a trigger sip can halt that process of you gulping in lots of negative energy on top of the oxygen molecules and putting that through your body, making you feel worse. It can actually stop that in its tracks. So the way you do a trigger sip is like this. You breathe in, and while you're still breathing in, I'm trying to say it at the same time, you take another sip. So you don't breathe out, you deep breath in, and then you force yourself to take an even deeper breath. So it's a big sip and then another sip, and then slowly release it. So I'm going to do it, okay? So you sip in, but you sip in some more air. And so that's a trigger sip that then changes the way that you are breathing and what's attached to the oxygen molecules and helps to wash your body with oxygen that's not filled with all that anxiety and all that anger or frustration or whatever it is that triggered you, whatever emotions are coming with that triggering. You're kind of cleaning up the oxygen. Okay, so 3 simple steps that work like a bomb, and let's just quickly summarize those. So the first thing is the isn't it interesting statement. So you trigger it and you say, isn't that interesting? Say it over and over in your mind or out loud, and whatever thoughts are coming up, just whatever they stimulate, isn't that interesting? Oh, maybe this. Isn't that interesting? Oh, maybe that. And you do that for about 60 seconds. Okay. And the second one, you practice immediate gratitude for around about 60 seconds as well. And that is, what can you be immediately grateful for? Even if you can't think of anything, you could say, I'm grateful that I can breathe. I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I can stand on my 2 feet. I'm grateful for rainbows. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my puppies. You find something and you say a few statements. Third thing is the trigger sips, where you clean up the oxygen. And that's just, and breathe out. Now, practice this on your own. Practice this before. Practice the order. Practice saying, is that interesting? Immediate gratitude, trigger sips. Maybe change the order. Trigger sip. Isn't it interesting? Immediate gratitude, trigger sip. Immediate gratitude. Isn't it interesting? Try different combinations. Practice it. Practice it when you're calm. Practice it over and over, even if you have to practice it for 63 days to wire it in if you're a very reactive person. This is a great set of active reaches that you can practice daily. And so, because you don't want to wait till you're in a crisis, because in your crisis, they're not going to work very well. The one that will work immediately well is the trigger sip. It will definitely calm you down, but it's going to be so much more effective if you've practiced these in advance and you know how to use it, so you don't have to try and recall them and that kind of stuff. Now, it's still going to happen that you're going to get triggered and you're not going to use these and whatever. So that's okay, because you'll just catch yourself, you'll remember, you'll practice these, you'll apply it next time. There's also going to maybe be a situation where you're listening to this podcast and you walk into a situation immediately and you need to use it and you only remember the trigger sip and it calms you down. Fantastic. Or you just remember the isn't it interesting statement, or you remember the immediate gratitude. Don't have to be big things, just immediate. What can I be grateful for in this absolute instant moment? And it could be silly as something. I mean, I've seen pink nails. I love pink, so I'm grateful for pink. It's something silly like that. Okay, so you may just use 1 or 2 or 3 of them in the moment too. But the more you practice, the more useful they are. So the 3 things are going to help you manage being triggered in a moment and help you respond and not react. Hope this helps you. Thanks for you joining me, and I'll see you next time.